town good neighbors gathered around. The principal characters in this little opus are Mrs. O'Flaherty and Mrs. Murphy. They were next-door neighbors, and as in so many cases of pure Irish extraction, Mrs. O'Flaherty and Mrs. Murphy, after engaging in friendly, neighborly conversation to start with, would wind up in a knockdown free-for-all that you could hear for blocks around. One morning, just before Pat O'Flaherty left for work, he said to his missus,
"Sure now, Maggie, that you're expecting a baby. Don't forget to go to the doctor this morning for a checkup, and remember to be sure and have him take a specimen. And whatever you do, now that you're going to become a mother, don't get into any more fights with Mrs. Murphy next door."
And Mrs. O'Flaherty said,
"Ah, Pat, you're the kindest, sweetest person this side of County Cork, and I love you with all my heart. Don't be worried about a thing now. And now that I'll be presenting you with a darling baby in a few months, don't fret a bit any more about me fighting with Mrs. Murphy. Now off to work with you, me darling husband."
That night, Pat returned home after work, and lo and behold, there was his wife Maggie in the worst shape he'd ever seen her. She had a black eye. Half her hair was pulled out. Her arm was damaged up. Oh, she was in frightful shape. Pat said,
"Faith and be jabbers, Maggie, what in the world happened?"
Maggie said,
Pat, darling, it wasn't me fault at all. I went over to see Mrs. Murphy this morning, after you left, frail, sociable like, and said, "Top of the morning to you, Mrs. Murphy." I was just as friendly as could be. We were gossiping away when I happened to ask her what a specimen was. And out of a clear sky, she said, "Go piss in a bottle." So right back to her, I said, "Go shit in your hat." And the fight was on.
The scene changes, and the time 12 years later. And incidentally, Pat hasn't lost any time. There are 12 children by this stage of the game. There's only 2 bedrooms, and naturally the house is getting a little cluttered up. So Pat figured he'd have to do something in a hurry. Well, he'd heard about the rubber merchandise the drugstores feature, so in desperation he went to the corner drugstore, and as always Pat went for his cabin, and said,
"Sure, and I'll be taking a gross of rubbers."
So the clerk wrapped him up a whole gross of rubbers. Well, there weren't any instructions on them, so Pat ate the whole damn works. 2 weeks later, Pat happened by the same drugstore, and the clerk said,
"Hello, Pat. Glad to see you. Incidentally, how's the rubbers work?"
Pat said,
"Faith and be jabbers, I've been shitting sausages and farting balloons for 2 weeks."
the clerk said,
Good night, Dad. Let me show you how to use these.
So he gave him a little demonstration, took him to the back room and showed him how. And then Pat said,
"Well, what do you know now? Will wonders never cease?"
So Pat went home, and that night he put one of the rubbers on, but it looked a little thin and a little delicate to him. So he put 2 of them on, one on top of the other to make sure. Then he and Maggie got in the groove. As they were making wild Irish patches love, Maggie looked up at him with her big starry Irish eyes and said,
Pat, should we be calling this one Dinny?
And Pat said,
"Faith and be jabbers, if the little son of a bitch gets out of these rubber jackets, we'll call him Houdini."